A well-realized villain can help turn a good game into a great one. The best video game villains, however, can make games truly spectacular while also leaving a lasting impression on all those who play them. These 8 villains define their franchises and are some of the most recognizable characters in the entire entertainment industry. There will be spoilers ahead for several iconic gaming franchises. At number 8, Albert Wesker.
Your plans are finished, Wesker!
There's no way out this time!
Don't you two ever tire of failing in your mission?
There has never been a more stylish video game villain than Albert Wesker. This Resident Evil baddie just oozes class and steals about every scene that he appears in. But there's much more to him than just those sharp threads and those iconic shades. Wesker is a good old-fashioned bad guy, the likes of which seldom show up in video games these days. Wesker manages to still feel incredibly threatening even when he's trying to come across as kind. He's remarkably powerful too, and, like some kind of terrifying Terminator, just keeps on coming back. At least until his unforgettable death in Resident Evil 5. At number 7, Voss.
Jumping out of airplanes, flying like birds. That is crazy.
As a franchise, the Far Cry games arguably boast the best selection of villains in all of gaming, though one stands out above the rest. Portrayed by Michael Mando of Better Call Saul fame, Voss Montenegro is an incredibly complicated and charismatic villain. His interactions with Jason Brody throughout Far Cry 3 are perfectly scripted, with the protagonist changing drastically throughout the course of the game as a result of Voss's actions. Pagan Min and Faith Seed also deserve a mention here, but neither of them quite measures up to the psychotic pirate leader. At number 6, GLaDOS. Being psychotic may not be a requirement when it comes to crafting a great video game villain.
It's been a long time.
But it certainly helps. To see the trait applied to an AI is particularly interesting, with GLaDOS seeming to take genuine pleasure from teasing and tormenting Chell throughout the 2 Portal games. The thing that makes GLaDOS such a great villain is the fact that players can actually only hear her for much of the games. This places extra emphasis on her dialogue, which strikes just the right balance between witty humor and sadism, and is all the more effective for having been delivered in her cold, emotionless voice. At number 5, Kefka. There have been plenty of great Final Fantasy villains over the years, but few can compare to Kefka. Both his appearance and his maniacal laugh really help set him apart from the other bad guys, with the former also playing on many people's pre-existing dislike of clowns. To be clear though, colorophobia is just a very small part of what makes Kefka one of the best video game villains of all time. In most games, the player's aim is to stop the villain's evil plan, but in Final Fantasy VI, that isn't really the case. Instead, they're effectively tasked with salvaging what remains after Kefka succeeds in destroying the world, which makes him so much more intimidating. He's willing to betray his allies to get what he wants too, and presumably murders billions of people when he triggers the Cataclysm. At number 4, Sephiroth. The Final Fantasy franchise boasts plenty of great villains. Some will perhaps argue that Kefka is the pick of the bunch, and while this may be the case when focusing solely on each villain's respective game, when looking at the impact they've had on the wider gaming industry, there can only be one winner. The One-Winged Angel is one of the most recognizable video game villains around, not to mention one of the most intimidating. His relationship with Cloud, which was inspired by Japanese mythology, serves as the metaphorical icing on the cake. At number 3, Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as he's come to be known in more recent years, isn't particularly intimidating. In fact, when it comes to his appearance, he's really not that scary at all. I mean, just look at that mustache. That's not to say that he isn't still incredibly dangerous though, albeit through unconventional means. Granted, none of Eggman's evil schemes have worked out exactly how he would have wanted, but he remains one of the best and most memorable villains in all of gaming nonetheless. At number 2,
Finally.
Ganon.
Finally, it is mine!
Every once in a while, a Zelda game decides to focus on a new villain, but the series always seems to come back to Ganon after a short while. The Demon Lord first appeared in the original Legend of Zelda game on the NES, and has gone on to appear in countless other titles in the years since then. Demise's curse ensures that Ganon and his human form Ganondorf are still somewhat inevitable, yet each story in which the characters feature still manages to feel unique in its own right. His connection to Link and Zelda through the Triforce is an intriguing one, but it's perhaps Ganon's many terrifying forms that really help to set him apart. And at number 1, Bowser. If one were to write down a list of all the things that make a great villain, Bowser probably wouldn't tick off too many of the boxes. He's not particularly intimidating, he's incredibly predictable, and he hasn't really changed all that much since making his debut back in 1985. Despite this, however, Bowser remains a force to be reckoned with. As iconic as he is endearing, the Koopa King is one of the first great examples of a video game villain, which in turn has made him ridiculously popular. Just as his arch-nemesis Mario can be recognized by people from all over the world, so too can Bowser. And it's this, together with his perseverance and dedication, that makes Bowser the best video game villain of all time. That was our list of the best video game villains of all time. Thank you for watching Game Rant. I'm Cameron. We'll see you next time.